Hi, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, the background is back to this familiar background. Well, at least for some of you who have been watching my videos for a while, especially before the last 2 months. And for those of you who are new, the last 2 months I was in a different country, and now I'm back in Malaysia. In fact, I just arrived a few hours ago. Right now it's about 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and if you're asking why am I making a video at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, I'm just in the mood to do so. I still have a bit of that excess energy from my flight journey, which was about 4 hours actually, so it wasn't that long of a flight, but you know, I was from the airport and now I'm at home, and so I have a bit of that energy just kind of like inside me. And I finished one book on that flight earlier, so I feel like you know what, let's just make a random video talking about that book. And that book is Fay Weldon's Splitting. It took me quite a while to read this book. I think I took like more than 1 month to read this, which was a bit more than I expected. This would be my second Fay Weldon book. The first one that I finished was the Spa Decameron, and I loved that one. That was like 1 year ago. I absolutely loved it. So I was a little bit disappointed by Splitting, to be honest, because there was something really interesting about this book, but there were also aspects that didn't really live up to my expectation, and so I guess at the end I gave it somewhere like 3 out of 5 stars. Now, if you have seen like some of my recent past videos, you would have known that I was also reading another book by Fay Weldon, which I have not finished now because I started that book before my trip to Taiwan, and that was Down Among the Women. That book felt a little bit messy to me at the time, and so I couldn't really, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to, but I'm planning to continue reading that book after this, but yeah, who knows. I would say this book was a little bit more enjoyable than Down Among the Women. Anyway, what is Splitting about? So in Splitting, we see our main character. Her name is Angelica Rice. Now, what happened at the beginning of this book, we see how this particular person, this woman, Angelica Rice, is divorcing her husband, or rather is being divorced by her husband, Edwin. And the reason was because of infidelity. Apparently, Edwin discovered that Angelica Rice has been sleeping with another man. Now, that is going to be explored further in this book once we get to learn more about the main character's history. But what's more interesting about this Angelica Rice person is that while she is dealing with this the process of divorce, she develops some kind of split personalities, or rather, as it is described in this book, perforated personalities. And these personalities would have names that are different, but all are related to basically Angelica Rice. So we have personalities whose name is, of course, like there is the Lady Rice, which has a personality of her own. So basically, Lady Rice is someone who really wants to get justice out of this divorce. Like she thinks that there is some kind of injustice that is being done throughout this whole ordeal. And then we also have personalities. The next one is called Angelica, and then another one called Angel, who is a bit more sexual. Another one who is called Jelly, which is a bit more work oriented, very much practical, pragmatic kind of a personality, and so on and so forth. But these are the ones that are just kind of more important to the narrative of the story. And as we follow the story, and as we follow the development of these of this divorce, we also see how these different personalities interact with one another, which I think is one of the more interesting part of the story, because I like how this novel just kind of explores the internal conflict that this main character has, by representing it with the dynamics and interaction between these different perforated personalities. Now, it is not explicitly mentioned that these personalities are a result of a particular kind of mental illness or whatever. You don't get that kind of labels. And so it really is up to the reader's own interpretation as to what they think is really going on with this main character. But to me personally, it's not really like a very important thing to put a label on what's really going on with this character in terms of, like, you know, what kind of mental health condition is going on with her or whatever. But rather, I find it just really interesting that it is used as some kind of device to explore the conflicts that she has inside her, which is also used to explore different topics such as women's experience, for example, and also the imbalance that occur between people of different power levels and also between men and women. These are the topics that are kind of being discussed over and over throughout this book. And the way it is discussed, there is this kind of sarcastic, dry tone associated with this as well, which I find kind of interesting and quite entertaining. Yeah, and also a bit of that cynicism also that kind of gets peppered throughout the book, which I also like. Now, those are the aspects that I rather enjoy. Towards the end, my interest in this book kind of fizzled out a little bit, because there was something that just felt a bit different with how this book ended. Now, basically, I would say it kind of started somewhere in the middle, where we began to where the plot swerved slightly towards a different set of characters. And these different set of characters, I don't want to reveal too much about them, but it's also like they're also kind of a bit of a family going on. There's a bit of fight between members of this family. It has something to do with womanhood as well, and it has something to do with power, inheritance, and all of that. I don't want to give any details, but they are at that point fairly detached from the main character, Angelica Rice. Oh, another detail is that just now I mentioned one of the personalities named Jelly, and apparently Jelly is also working for the attorney who represents Angelica Rice's husband. And the reason for that is because Jelly wants to, basically this main character wants to use her alternate personality, one of her alternate personalities, in order to kind of manipulate the outcome of that divorce so that she can get more money. So yeah, that's another interesting part. But anyway, somewhere in the middle of this book, the story just kind of took a slightly different turn, which was a bit awkward. Now after that, it did return to the main character, but towards the end of this book, it took a different turn and a different direction again, and this time it's a little bit bizarre, very sexual. I mean, the book has been fairly sexual, especially when it comes to female sexuality, but the ending of this book felt a bit more sexual in a very raunchy way that evokes images of orgies and brothels and stuff like that. Now again, I don't want to give too much details about the ending, but it just felt a little bit different in terms of tone, which I thought was kind of awkward. And because of that, I felt like the ending of this book just didn't feel satisfying enough, because on one hand it felt kind of rushed, like on the other, while I think it fits fits somewhat the aesthetics of the book in general, like how women are being shown as fairly sexual here, it just felt a bit too different from the entire book. So yeah, that difference just kind of felt kind of jarring to me. So it didn't really work. Yeah, there is a bit of surrealism also happening over there. Now one can say that perhaps the representation of these perforated personalities are surreal, of themselves, but still the surrealistic quality of the ending just felt like it was of a different flavor. It just didn't really fit with the overall vibe of the book. But then again, that's just me, maybe. So yeah, those are my thoughts about Splitting. Now I'm curious, have you read this book? It was an interesting book, certainly, but whether I really enjoyed it, perhaps not. But yeah, I actually have a bunch other books by Fay Weldon in my room. I'm curious to discover more of her stuff. But yeah, let me know if you have read this. Let me know if you have read her other works. Yeah, and that's all for this video, I guess. You know what? I do feel a little bit tired right now. So I think I'm gonna get some rest, and I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Bye.